Welcome to this week's webinar from Smarter Networker by Danny Johnson, 3 ways to generate free leads for your business. Today's content was recorded live July 25th at First Steps to Success. And now, here's Danny Johnson.
What does every business need? Think about it. I want you to think about this. What does every business need? And business is ran by people, right? People are involved with business. Every business on the planet has human beings in it. So I want you to text me right now the answer to this question. Text me the answer. What does every business need? Go ahead, freely type me those answers. Oh. Yep. Anybody else going to text me your answer? I got 2 answers there. I'm waiting for more. Keep them coming. If you're already sleeping on me, come on. I want you to think in terms of right now, especially. What does every company need right now? What does every business need right now? What does every charity need right now? What does every church need right now? Lots of great answers. So we've got loyalty and commitment, money, training from Danny Johnson. That's so sweet and cute. Sales, vision, supportive management, people, product, and money. Customers, cheerleaders, a vision. Every business needs a value proposition. What the heck is that? That's somebody else's book you read. Empathy, focus on the goal. Okay, I'm going to break it down real simple. These are all great answers. However, there is one thing that every company needs that if they don't get, they will not be in business long. They will not be an organization. If the church doesn't get this, if a charity doesn't get this, if a business doesn't get this, it's gone. It's history. Customers. You're like, what are you talking about? Church doesn't have customers. What do you think you are sitting in the pews? You are their customer. You are paying them every week with your tithe and offering, which if you read the best success book ever written, which is the Bible, it's not supposed to go to that building. Sorry to tell you, it's supposed to go to the poor. Another story, another time. But if you read the book, you'll find that answer yourself. You're not supposed to be paying for some pastor's, $1 million house payment or jet or anything like that. Nonetheless, but most people don't read the book. They could care less about it. They just care about being a part of that popular club. Anyway, but every church needs customers, paying customers. Every charity needs donors. Every business needs clients and customers. That's the bottom line. Nothing works without those things. Absolutely nothing works without those things. And so how can you increase your value in the marketplace by knowing that every business, church, charity needs customers, how can you raise your value in the marketplace? It's simple, isn't it? You can help companies get customers. That's what you can do. You can help companies get customers. How? How do you help a company get customers? You're like, but wait, I'm a stay-at-home parent. My spouse is the one that works full-time. Well, do you know what kind of customer that they need? Do you know what your husband's business sells? Do you know how it's sold? Do you know who their customer is? Who the ideal customer is? Do you know how they get their customers? I want to tell you about a time I had a beautiful privilege of speaking in India before 2,000 leaders. And these happened to be religious leaders. And it was a real unique privilege and honor. And this group of people were extremely religious. Like, they knew how to, do the whole act, the whole walk, the talk, the dress it like it. It was almost like push button robotic, 2,000 Indian leaders. They were kind of like, I don't know, it was almost like a assembly line of pastors, if you will. They knew the right things to do, right? And so I asked this question, and I was there doing a conference, a 2-day conference for these 2,000 leaders, again, which was a privilege. However, in this, I challenged them, of course, and I asked them, because the whole point was, how do I make my congregation grow? And these pastors are actually pastors that will hunt you down if you don't show up at church and put out their hand and say, where's my money? Like, no joke. That's what these guys do. They literally will come to your house and they will pick up that tithe and that offering and give quite the sassy message along with it. You're going to hell if you don't pay your tithe. The same, very similar thing happens, honestly, in our country. It's just a little different, a little more sexy. They give us lots of promises. You're going to get rich if you give to the church. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that. And in fact, the word church doesn't even exist in the Bible. But that's another conversation for another time. Forget it. This is not political and this is not church. This is life. Anyway, I'd love to have that conversation with you sometime, but we'll just leave that off the table. You're already hanging on the edge of hating me. Well, shoot, let me just knock it out of the park. Anyway, I'm kidding. Knock you right out of your seat. Like, that's it. I want a refund. Okay. So I had this opportunity to speak with them and to train for 2 days. And I asked the question, do you know what the needs are of your people? Because if you can find out what their need is and you can help fill it, you will not be able to build a building big enough to hold the amount of people that would gravitate to you. I'm going to say this again. Find the needs that are in your people. Find the need that's in your prospect. Find the need in your spouse. What's the need in the kids? What's the need in the boss? What's in the need of the business that is supporting your family? You do realize that there is a business that you work for or that you've started that is supporting for you and all your needs. So that should have some honor and respect as well. But the 98% pattern wants to complain about their job, complain about their coworkers, complain about the boss. This does not help you get promoted. In fact, I'm going to pause right here. There's a law, a financial law. We'll talk about this financial law tomorrow, and it's called the law of promotion. And that law says this, that if you're faithful with a little, you'll be made ruler over much, much more. So if you have a job and you're not faithful in that job, you certainly won't get promoted in that job. Well, Danny, I show up on time. That has nothing to do with it. What are you contributing? How are you helping it grow? Which is what I asked these pastors. The majority of the Indian people actually didn't work for companies. Most of them were entrepreneurs just for survival purposes, right? So here I asked the pastors, I said, okay, so do you know what the needs are of your people? And most of them looked at me complex, and I said, so give me some answers. Okay, and this is through a translator, obviously. And I said, what do you think the needs are of your people? And they said, they need more prayer. Oh, nope. They need the Holy Spirit. Nice sales job. Nope. What do your people need? They need to memorize scripture. No. What do your people need? They had no idea what the needs were of their people. No wonder their congregations were starving and suffering and small, because they thought that they needed things that they really didn't need. Now, I know I just ruffled some of your religious fellas right now, but when somebody is starving, do they need your prayers? No. If somebody's business is failing, do they need your prayers? Pretty sure that's not what they need. So I asked the question, what do they need? Most of the people that you have in your congregation are entrepreneurs. What do they need? And they couldn't come up with the answer. They're like, they need to speak in tongues. Well, I mean, that has a purpose. And the Holy Spirit has a purpose, and prayer has a purpose, but that is not what they need. That's not going to put food on their table. So sorry. So sorry. What do they need? I let them deliberate for about 5 minutes, coming up with all kinds of answers, and then they were looking at me perplexed. I said, just think about it. In fact, what do you need? What do you need? Well, we need more people. So what does every business owner in your congregation need? They still didn't get it. I said, they need customers. They need customers. If each one of those entrepreneurs inside of your congregation got more customers, that would increase your tithe. And then they went, ooh, all of a sudden the dollar signs went up in their eyes. So if you can help them get more customers, so here's the question I have for you. How many customers have you helped each one of your people get? How many customers have you helped each one of your church members get for their job or for their business? How many? You should have seen them looking like deer in headlights, like, ooh. But what would happen if you did? You'd actually be showing support. You'd actually be a good shepherd. You'd be a good shepherd, leading them by green pastures, along cool waters. You're actually helping them to succeed versus giving them no solutions that's going to help their finances. And if they're broke, so are you. So, how can you? Well, that doesn't seem very spiritual. Oh, really? Wow, let's try reading the whole Bible without religion. Let's try reading the Bible without religion and see what it is. It's a financial book. It's an investing book. It's a marriage book. It's a communications book. It's a health book. It's a book on war and strategy. It's a book on humanity. It's a study of people. Yeah, if you take the religious part out of it, oh my gosh, it's an amazing book filled with unbelievable amounts of wisdom. War strategy, business strategy, investing strategy, marriage strategy, parenting strategy, health strategy. It's all inside this book. Plus a little bit of sci-fi. Some really strange stuff that's in there too, which is kind of exciting. Anyway, my point is that when you read that book, you find it's everyday average people living regular lives. That's what's in the book. And communities helping each other in some of those places in that book where it was working really well. Other places where communities were taking from each other. And that's when it wasn't working out so great. And that's when they were going to reap what they sowed, which they were taken off into captivity, which really wasn't a good thing. So what can we do to help? Could you imagine if our whole country rallied together to help businesses stay in business? Could you imagine? That especially even right now in this crazy pandemic, could you imagine if our families, just our families, rallied together to help the businesses that support each family member to stay in business? There's only one thing that helps a business stay in business, and that's more customers. That's it. It really is as simple as that. Customers is what we need. So could you imagine if all the aunts and uncles and the family brothers and sisters, that everybody rallied together and they could, okay, what is your job? What is your business? What is the product? Who is the customer they're looking for? Could you imagine? Could you imagine if there was a family meeting that they asked those questions and said, okay, how can we help each other's jobs and businesses to succeed? Oh, wait, I know this person. They could, let me tell you something. Connectors have high value in the marketplace. I'm going to show you how to become a powerful connector. I'm going to show you how to bring such value that you're going to get offers from lots of different places. You're going to be able to have a powerful amount of influence on what you're about to learn. If you use it, of course. And it's really simple. So again, imagine getting together with your friends. And that the friends all had a heart to say, I want to do whatever I can to secure our livelihoods. Let's do what we can to help secure each other's livelihoods. Because if every employee inside of every company did what they could to spread the news about the brand, the product, or the service, then that would help to get customers through the door, which would keep the job for your friend or your family member. So the way that you can secure your job, and the best way that you can doing your job to secure your job, is not just showing up on time, but what have you done to get customers to come to the business? If you're running a charity, what have you done to bring donors? Have you contacted everyone you know to tell them about the brand or the company, the service that you represent? Could you imagine what could happen if you did? You automatically raise your value to that organization. But if you won't talk to anybody about it, well, then you are drawing a line in the sand and you're saying, this is as far as I'm going. But you can't expect for the company to go further for you and to promote you further if you're not willing to join arms with them and become a partner with them, regardless if your title is receptionist or it's partner. So I want to challenge you to break the 98% patterns concerning work life. And I want to help you develop 2% patterns. 2% thinks outside of the box. 2% has this question going on. And this is a question that I asked myself when I was homeless. Who can I help to succeed? Who can I help to succeed? This was my marketing plan, and it's been my marketing plan for almost 30 years with the same message. 30 years that I've been doing First Steps to Success and Creating a Dynasty. So just about. It's been 29 and some change, to be exact. So thinking outside the box. This is where if you see yourself as a partner of the business, it's going to change the way you work every day. And if the business is in trouble, which I will tell you, every business has a chance to be in trouble. Even the ones that are booming right now, if they're not going to manage things correctly, if they're not managing their customer service well, they're not going to get the referrals that they should be getting. Like I said, there's dozens of construction companies in this town. And here my 28-year-old son-in-law and my daughter have just crossed over so far this year $1 million in sales. How? Well, my daughter has very strong people skills. She knows how to promote. She knows how to build relationship. And they stopped advertising in January. And by the way, she did no paid advertising at all. She knew how, through her own contacts, to let people know what they were doing. And through relationship, here comes that first job. Listen to me. Relationship first, business follows. Relationship first, business follows. And through those relationships, they got booked out months in advance. And literally on just referrals, they've generated all of that volume, all of those sales on referrals. Are you hearing me? Listen to me. This is not difficult. So don't think like a 98%er and like these 98%er pastors. Bless their hearts, amazing men who love God, but they didn't understand people. And if you don't understand people, you don't understand what they need or how to help them. If they learn that, it's a game changer. So what if the family got together and said, okay, tell me about your job, tell me about your product, tell me about the message and the mission of the company you work for. Everyone gets a chance to share what that is. So everybody in the family as a team are going to say, okay, I know some people who need construction, or I know some people who need that gadget. I know some people who need that health product. I know some people that need that insurance. Are you hearing me? I know some people that need that personal development. I know some people that need that travel. And what if everyone made a commitment, just in the family alone, to spread the word? Hey, don't know if you heard, but Susie, she works for such and such company. Man, they have a really great product, and these are the kind of customers they're looking for. Who do you know that might fit this mold? That can be done on social media. That could be done on the phone. Imagine if a community got together to learn about the businesses that were inside of their own town. What if an elite group, what if the city council members did this? Like, I can't even imagine. I don't know what city council does. I have no idea. But I can think of something they could do that actually would help the economy. And that would be for them to learn every business that's in their jurisdiction. To learn what kind of customer each business knows in that jurisdiction. And to help refer to each other's businesses. To help all those businesses grow. What would that do to each one of these businesses? Could you imagine? That's how someone gets elected for president. Is that when they actually care about the people that they are leading, and they actually do, not just talk, but they actually do what it takes to help those businesses succeed. Who can I help to succeed was my motto, my marketing plan when I was a homeless woman. And that motto, that marketing plan made me $2,000 in profits in 4 days. $250,000 the first year, $1 million by the end of my second year. Okay. So this thing works. So think in terms of, okay, so first of all, How do you grow a business? How does any business grow? Well, if everyone needs customers, then everyone needs exposure, which is what I've just been talking about. Every business, this is the cycle of how business is built. You start with exposure, all right? So again, you're a stay-at-home parent. How can you bring exposure to your spouse's job or profession or business? What exposure are you giving that business, that job right now? Okay? The 98% pattern is you're just entitled. He or she works, they bring in the pay, meh. Thanks for the dinner, right? Just entitled, not even like, wait a second. What have you, the spouse, done to thank the company that is providing your spouse with money, providing opportunity? What have you done to bring gratitude into that place? What have you done to be a blessing? Do you know back in the 50s, women did things like this? Yeah, women, they didn't have messy buns or saggy sweats and yoga pants. They didn't do that. They actually dressed kind of the way I'm dressed right now to cook their own dinner. Yeah, do their own laundry and bake a cake for the husband's team, whether that was his staff or whatever, his manager or whatever. Find out what the favorite cookies are and come beautiful with the kids, perfectly honorable and respectful, and show up with a plate of cookies to bless everybody. Why? Because it brought attention to the husband. It made him stand out. It made him be known. So she helped to build relationship inside of that office by blessing people with what they wanted, blessing them with something special, nice little surprise, honor and respect. And that made him look good. That made him rise up and stand out of the crowd. So anyway, exposure. That's a form of exposure, by the way. That's exposing the spouse to stand out from everybody else. You realize that women don't do that kind of stuff anymore. They just don't. And some of them don't have any idea what their spouse actually does. And they really could care less about it, which is really sad. And yet she expects for him to make more money somehow, even though she's not helping him rise up in the marketplace. So, exposure. What can you do to bring exposure to the organization that's paying the bills? Think about that. What can you do to bring exposure? Now, here's where the 98% pattern says, well, I don't know anyone that needs conveyor belts. How do you know you don't know anyone that needs conveyor belts? Darn it, where was I? I was recently, oh, poop. I literally have a story of this recently. Okay, Father, help me. It is so powerful. It's really, really powerful. And it was something just, I know who it was. Okay, so I have a friend who went and exposed her talent in front of a group of people. And if she had not exposed this talent in front of a group of people, this connection would have never happened. And so this exposure somebody saw her singing and said, wow, I would love to hire her to do a project with me. And it turns out that this guy is a producer who produces music and composing does scoring, which is exactly what this musician wants to do. So exposure is something that needs to happen, and it should happen a lot. So how often are you exposing the brand that is providing for all of your needs? And what are the different ways that you can expose the brand that is providing for your needs? And then some of you have a part-time business on the side where that brand needs to be exposed. So let's think of some ways that we can expose the brand that is providing for the needs. And maybe you have never thought of that before. But I want you to think about it now. And if you saw yourself as a partner, that you are a co-owner with it, come on, stretch your mind, that if you are a partner in a business, if you saw yourself as a partner, as a man thinks, so is he. If you saw yourself as a partner, how would you expose the business, and how often would you expose that brand or that product or that service? Think about that. If you owned it, it's your baby, you birthed this thing, how often would you expose it? And how would you expose it? Okay, versus don't think like a normal employee. I want you to think like what we call an employeepreneur. Think of yourself as a partner, and the partnership will come. The ownership will come as you act like and contribute and bring in as a partner does. Okay, so what does that look like? So I want you to text me some ideas of different ways to expose a brand, whether it is your spouse's brand, a business they started, or a business that he or she works for. How can you bring exposure to it? You might be thinking, well, they don't need me to do that, Danny. They're a huge corporation. Fool. Huge corporations are closing their doors every day right now. Don't even think like that. You reap what you sow. If you're doing nothing to help, then when your time comes where you need help, don't expect people to help. Isn't that interesting? How when we're in help, we want everyone to help. This, by the way, was a huge wake-up call for me. I was homeless and no one would help. Why? Because I never helped anybody prior to that. You know darn certain I help now. I learned my lesson. Okay? So someone says, call friends and families. Put out flyers. What else? So what I'm saying is that when you expose, you never know who needs whatever gadget or product it is that your company represents, and or the brand itself. Could be a large corporation. If you're helping to expose it and tell friends about it, you're getting the name out there, versus the employees with the patterns that help them to fail that say, oh, I hate my company. Oh, it drives me crazy. How's work? Fine. Gosh, you are a walking billboard. You're a walking infomercial. Okay, someone says social media, sharing testimonials online. Yes. Put it on Facebook, calling my contacts, wear the company shirt. Absolutely. I already said pass out flyers. Come on, give me some more ideas. Word of mouth. But how do you spread that word? Spread the word. At restaurants, spread it at the grocery store, spread it all over the place. Okay. Take your products wherever you go. Yeah. You're talking about yours. I'm talking about even other businesses. Yes. Business cards. I don't know what they really do. Okay. You guys are saying some of the same stuff. Yep. You can wear a button, a shirt, any kind of decal on the car. There's lots of different ways that you can help to expose your brand. All kinds of swag, as I call it, car details, shirts, sweatshirts, phone cases, hang posters, exposure through virtual events. Yes. Use the products. Yes. Huge. Be a product of the actual product. Here we've got a woman who says, I hand out business cards for my husband's plumbing business. I love it. Use advertising. Yes, there's all kinds of advertising you can use. Now, remember, I told you that every room that we're in, we ask the question, how many of you first heard about us through word of mouth? Majority of the room is filled by word of mouth. And then the rest is not even through advertising. Advertising does so little compared to the power of word of mouth. Do you understand? It's just so little. Like, for example, if we're in a room with 1,000 people and I ask the question, how many of you first heard me from Oprah Winfrey? There's like 0 to 1 that's in that room. Okay. Benny Hinn, 4 or 5. Secret Millionaire, a lot. It might be 13. 13 out of 1,000 is not a lot. Do you hear me? 13. Okay. What about Forbes magazine, which got translated into 8 different languages, went all over the world? 0. Success magazine, 0. Like, you name all the Wall Street Journal. I did an interview with Wall Street Journal, 0. So I asked the room, like, so largely all that print media and all that kind of stuff, meh, doesn't really do much. Word of mouth, there is nothing more powerful than that. Absolutely nothing more powerful than that. Okay, someone said write a review. Yes, you could totally write reviews and share the review that you wrote. So if you're going to take the time to write a review, why not share the review on social media also? Because only the people that go to that page and see the review are even going to see the review. But you could actually spread the review in all your social media places. That's another way to help that business grow. Send a handwritten note. Yes, that'll give you, again, that gives exposure for you, elevates you inside the organization. Carry a clear purse with product in it. That's obviously, well, it doesn't matter what kind of business that is actually, but I used to do that. I used to have a backpack that had all my products in it, and people would ask me what it was, and people would buy right in the middle of the grocery store. They'd end up giving me a check or a credit card or cash for $100 worth of product that I had carrying with me. Okay. Yes, connect with people who can expose for you. Yes. So you're looking to meet people who have large centers of influence. This would be smart. Connect with people who have large centers of influence, and bam, as long as you're building relationship first, then that person may end up talking about it. All right, so we just gave some ideas about exposure, which then takes me to number 2. And number 2 actually is you're going to create A list of resources. This, by the way, is another place to create exposure. And what's a list of resources? And I hope that all of you do this, but sadly, most of you won't. But the most powerful way for word of mouth advertising to get an effect is to start with your list of resources. And who's that? It's every person you've ever met in your entire life. Every person that you went to school with. I mean, I want you to go as far back as your memory will hold. We have these things called script books, and they're for people who largely are in any kind of sales or marketing kind of position. And it helps to put the words in your mouth and in the prospect's ears. That helps to close the deal. To help, it gives you the right kind of questions. Which, by the way, in communication, you want to ask questions. As you ask questions, you engage the person you're talking to, and you're finding out information about them that helps you to marry the two ideas together, or to create the mutually beneficial relationship. And so, with your list of resources, you don't want to not put somebody on that list of resources. So what if you made the commitment to call every single person that you know and every person that you will meet and let them know about the brand? And it can be indirectly. Do you understand? It can be a very indirect conversation about how you spread the news about the brand. Now, there is a great way to do that, but I'll talk about that later. Actually, I talk about that Sunday night. All right, so we have exposure, we have a list of resources. These two things are going to comprise of bringing people, right? So people are customers. So this is where the potential, this is called prospects. These are both prospects, exposure to people that you don't know, and you're trying to collect what we call cold market. So you can expose to cold market. Warm market are people that you meet, people that you know, and lukewarm market are people that you haven't met yet, but that you will. And that's what's going to be on this list of resources. Inside of your list of resources is where you have at least 2,000 names. They say that social scientists say that we know 2,000 people before by the time we're 20 years old. By the time we're 20, we know 2,000 people. Think about that. So every person you meet knows 2,000 people you don't know. So the question is how can you get inside of that center of influence? How can you build a relationship in such a way that that is a natural thing that happens, that they want to refer you? It's a mutually beneficial thing. It's a natural thing. It's not a forced thing. It's not a manipulated thing. It's not a underhanded thing. It's not a forced thing. It's not a pressurized thing. No, we're looking for mutually beneficial. That's real professional sales is what that is.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed today's webinar. Watch your email for the next webinar and more training coming soon.